Maor, please tell us about how you use MD3 when mastering.
Well, MD3 has a few functions in it. So it's multi-band dynamics, and it's also EQing, and there's a limiter, and there's a normalizer and expander. So let's look at the screen. When we pop up the main screen of the MD3, we notice there's the general parameters, which will be the input, the mode, if it's stereo mode, or you can choose between stereo mode, dual mono, MS linked, MS unlinked. Stereo mode, as everybody knows, is left and right. Dual mono means that you can process each one differently, and they're not linked. MS unlinked would be processing each one separately, and MS linked would be the parameters that you'll change will apply on both of them. And also you have, so let's go back to stereo. Output mode, you can do left right, you can do MS decode. MS decode will be, if you've done an MS encode, this would be decoding your MS encoding. So let's just put it left right. Now you got the DC block on or off. That's basically not letting low frequency, like super low, uber super low frequency come in, which DC, which usually will be that. So you can decide on and off or whatever you decide. The expander and compressor setup, that's where you choose your crossover points, and if your crest is RMS or peak, and you can, as you can see, RMS, or you can go to different dB levels or peak. Auto gain on off. This is a function that basically, when you're doing compression, it brings up the level that you've taken off. So it's what you've decreased is being increased. Kind of like, it's a makeup gain, but it's automatic. So you don't have to actually set it up to figure out how much you lost and then gain it back. It's going to do that for you. So that's the auto gain, if you want, on and off. Nominal delay. The delay is actually, it's not a delay like what we're using as a delay for vocals. It's basically delaying the signal so the unit can compute the moves. So it's keeping it like, it's delaying the actual process. So it could think, oh, how much do I need to compress? How much do I need, based on the settings that you give it. So usually, the 10 would be enough for it to make the calculations. It's in other pieces of digital gear, you can look at it as look ahead delay, and that's what it does, and that's a lot of digital processing gear has that. So you just set it, and then you have reference level of how much you set for reference. Then you can go to EQ. EQ basically has what most digital EQs have. Low frequency, mid, that's low, mid one could be low mids or high mids, whatever you decide. Mid 2 would be the second one. Then highs. You also have the ability to do filtering if you want. So you can do, or the low or the high. And everything is graphical. So you decide what frequency you want, and then you can choose the gaining of it. And then, as you'd see, all is visual representation. You choose the frequency of the low, you can move it. Then you can choose the gain, how much you raise or take off. Type would be basically, if it's a broadband, narrowband, a notch. As you can see, I can go really in deep. And I can do shelving. Then I can do cut Butterworth or cut Basel. So there's a lot of options to each parameter here in the type. Now low is usually the low cut or low frequency, and the high is same thing, whatever you decide. So that's basically the EQ function. Then you have a normalizer. Normalizer is how much level you want to push more. So instead of pushing the level from the compressor, you push the level pre-compression. And that way, if you push it too hard, the compressor is going to take it down. If it was post-compressor, you might clip. easily. So you can set the trim, how much you want to push the level, or also take down. You can lower if the program material is too loud, you can lower it down. Then you have a soft clip function, and you can set how much you can take it off at all, so it's not there, or you can just play with how much dB you let the signal go through before it starts soft clipping. Expansion is basically doing the opposite of compression. You set the levels that you want from that level to magnify it, so like to amplify it. So under that level, it's not pushing it further, it's keeping it down. Once you enter that threshold, then it's going to go louder. And compression, as most of us know, is dealing with the dynamics and lowering the peaks. Of course, when you have makeup gain, even if you lower it up, it's still going to be loud. It's because it's compressing it, but gaining it back up to nominal level to compensate for the loss. Now, this is MD3 is 3 bands, so it's divided to low, mid, and high. So we have threshold for low, for mid, for high, and we have a general one, which is basically you can move it and it will move all of them together, or that's when you want to do all of them together, or you can do separately each one. We have gain. Those gains are basically after the compression. How much of each frequency bandwidth is coming back, and the level you mix between them. If you like a bassy mix, you'll have more bass and then lower the treble or the mid-range. If you want more high-end, you can raise up the high-end on the gain. And as you can see, it's not only 0 and going down, it's also 0 and going up. Ratio, it's how much you want the compression ratio to be, and attack and release. Then on the output, we have a limiter and a soft clipper, and we can do the trim of the levels of the output as well. So basically that's the overview. The limiter in the MD3 is a full range limiter, so it's not divided to bands. And that's basically the MD3 overview.